Santinello.
And I'm Jennifer Mayerle in for Frank. In a last-minute move, a suicide prevention hotline received the funding needed to keep answering incoming calls.
The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline and several other crisis hotlines were set to shut down today at 5. State lawmakers didn't provide the funding to keep the call center operations going. Yesterday, the Minnesota Department of Health and several other organizations stepped in to help. Rachel Slavik is following this story. She joins us right now. These hotlines help thousands of people every year, right, Rachel?
Right, Amelia. The National Suicide Prevention Lifeline is set to take 12,000 calls this year. That's up from 3,000 last year, and the thought of losing this resource had many wondering how this could happen.
When Laura Weber answers a call, it could mean the difference between life and death.
Hello, Crisis Connection. May I get your first name and zip code?
She and her staff are there to listen in a crisis.
They can call at any time, 24 hours a day, and we can give them some help.
Even though the Canvas Health Call Center faced a crisis of its own.
We were at the point, from a financial perspective, of needing to scale back our services.
The state legislature failed to provide funding, putting 13 crisis hotlines in jeopardy, including the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. Calls of support started coming in this week.
There were so many calls that they decided we need to tally this.
The financial backing soon followed. A day before the funding ran out, the Minnesota Department of Health provided a $139,000 grant to keep the NSPL open. Other agencies stepped forward to help fund the remaining hotlines.
It really has been a pretty dramatic outpouring of sentiment about that this is an important service and we really need to preserve it in Minnesota.
Future funding will be left to state lawmakers, but for now, a caller in crisis won't go unanswered.
Thank goodness the work will continue.
Now, there is enough funding through the health department and those other organizations to keep the crisis hotlines afloat until the legislative session. Canvas Health CEO believes the public support will help with the long-term funding of these resources.
Okay. Thank you, Rachel.